All right, guys, like I said, I want to sit down and talk to you about something. So, again, everything was sponsored by Modelo. Thanks. All right. So, I'm making this video literally from A to Z so that you guys understand. There's not a lot of information out there. There's not a lot of video tutorials. And I enjoy making videos, chopping them up, and making DIYs for people. That way they can see how things need to get done. So essentially, what happened with my Audi, right? I was in my driveway, I turned it on, and the S4 said low oil pressure. Immediately I turned it off. It had the red icon, beep, and a little oil can. So I turned off the car and that was it. I came back the next day to do it. Highly recommend doing everything with the engine cold. I would hate to do this job if the engine was hot. So let it sit overnight, come back to it in the morning and get it started. Okay. In total, this job should take you an hour tops. It took me about 4 hours, and I'm about to explain to you how, why, and what happened. Okay. So essentially, you're trying to access this. This is called the oil pressure sensor, and it's located between the firewall and the back of the engine. Okay. You're gonna see the oil filter, just the standard oil filter that you unscrew and your oil filter goes in there, right? Now, right below that is where this sits. And you'll see in the videos and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Now the issue, because it looks like an easy job once you start getting hoses and stuff out of the way. You can see that the sensor goes into the engine this way, right? With this thread in the engine. This part needs to fit. You got to take off the harness and pop it on. Guess what? This is too short. So then you're like, well, that's cool. That's a 24 millimeter, by the way. And then you're like, that's cool. Well, I'll just use a deep socket, right? Psst, simple, easy peasy, you know, put it through, you're all good, right? The issue is that the clearance between the firewall and the oil pressure sensor, where the engine and everything is all mounted, there's room to put the socket on, so it fits. The issue is when you gotta pop a ratchet on there, we're adding a good 1.5 inches right here, and there's no clearance for it, right? So then you start thinking, oh, well, you know, let's see what other tools I have, what's thinner, what can fit there. And this is the part that took me forever. I went to 4 different stores trying to locate a socket that was mid-length. I even tried oil pressure sensor sockets because there's tools for it, and none of those would work because they were the exact same length as this or longer. So after a very long time, I said, F it. And I said, let me grab my handy dandy grinder. So what I did, you can see here, this is a 15/16. You can use a 24 millimeter, it's not a problem. But I ended up buying this at Harbor Freight. This socket is kind of large, so you might not have it in your possession. So you might have to go out and buy one, right? Don't worry about the length because you're gonna chop it. Or guess what? You can go on Amazon and order the correct one, get, you know, a shorter mid-length one, and you're good to go. But essentially, I'm telling you all this so that you're ready to do the job. So for me, I ended up chopping this socket down. It cost me $6.99 for the actual socket. I grabbed the grinder, chopped it completely off, and you guys saw my grinder gave out mid-cut, so I was having a terrible day. So long story short, this was chopped off of it. We took that off. This fit, guess what? Right on the sensor, right? Now you can see I almost chopped it too small, almost, but it worked. So we were able to get this in there. We popped the ratchet in, and it was very little bit of clearance, right? So essentially I went with a couple pry bars to just loosen it, right? When you loosen it, it's just a tad bit, it breaks loose, and then you can kind of take the ratchet off and unscrew it with your socket. So that's what I want to get at. So once you get your tools in check or you order the tool that you need, this job, an hour tops. It took me the better part of 4 hours, and that's because I was driving all over the place trying to find a shorter one, but not that short. And I needed something about mid-length, as you can see right there. This doesn't seem like it's standard at all. It looks like they're all universal, the same length. So that's why I got my grinder, I chopped it, I was good to go, and then I was able to do it. Now, with all that being said, I want to say thank you for following the video. I post DIYs like this all the time, and depending how you landed on my page, I want you guys to know that I'm a used car dealer. It's a small boutique dealer. I have maybe 3 to 6 cars at a time. They're all enthusiast style cars, and I essentially drive each car, I put some miles on it, and fix anything that breaks. And then I post it up for sale, make sure everything's clean. Everything I sell is clean title and things like that. So again, if you guys are interested in anything like this, subscribe on the YouTube. But I shoot out a lot of DIYs. I give a lot of day in the life videos of what I get into. And if you've ever thought about being a dealer yourself, I literally have it from the day that I got fired during COVID, or let go from my job during COVID, to present day, and how I'm making it and how I'm surviving and how things are working out for me. So if you've ever been interested in something like that, make sure you guys subscribe and follow me. So with that being said, I'm gonna let the rest of the video do the talking. The production on my videos, like the quality, I try to make it so easy for you to follow. So if you enjoy any of this stuff, I hope you really do. There's not a lot of videos out there doing exactly what I just did. Very simple fix, very scary problem to have. But with that being said, we're all set. And the way we were able to tell that it was the oil pressure sensor is the fact that it was full of oil all on the inside, the plug, everything else. So we had to clean all that out once we removed it, dried it all up, got all the oil out, fired up the car, and we were good to go. All right, so thanks. All right, guys, I wanted to make this video because there's not a lot of information about the oil pressure sensor on the 4.2 liter V8 Audi S4. This happens to be the Avant, but essentially what I want you guys to know is it's located underneath here, and you'll go right here. This is your oil filter, and then it's going to be directly beneath. And there's not a ton of space to work, but I'm going to remove this hose right here to gain a little more viewing, and then we'll keep the video going. All right, so step one, I'm going to remove this breather hose, I believe it is. We're gonna get it out of the way so we can get further in. We might take off this, so we'll check it out as I go. So be very careful with this hose. Mine isn't old and brittle, but these can be old and brittle. So just be careful when you're removing it from down here. Make sure your hose doesn't have any cracks, and when you're taking it off, just be very careful. So I pulled that out of the way. It gives us quite a bit more viewing down there, and let's see, I can see it, but the shadows aren't going to allow you to see it with the camera. All right, guys, so now that I have this hose out of the way, I'm also going to remove these two hoses right here, or at least get them out of the way so I can uncover an area back here. And as we can see, I'm just doing a flathead. All right, guys, so I have that removed. I'm just gonna pull it up. We got a little bit of coolant coming out of it, but that's okay. Very minimal amount. So what that does for us, gives us just a little more clearance to move this hose out of the way. So I removed that hose, and now I'm going to get this. You could probably access it by not doing this, but the potential of you breaking a lot of stuff on the way is probably greater. There's not a lot of room between the firewall and the engine, so that's why I'm doing these steps, just to get some of these hoses out of the way. So that's what we're doing here. All right guys, so I removed the first one. I'm removing the second one. Don't worry, very small amounts of coolant come through. Let me actually take this off so I don't lose it. So now we're making a little leadway back here and providing that we can see. Okay, so well, I removed those hoses, and then if you come on the passenger side, can you see? Let's see if I can zoom in. Let me figure out where I'm at. Okay, right here. There it is. The one wire back there. It's full of oil. That's what's causing low oil pressure. All right, guys. So what I'm doing is I'm on the passenger side. I'm reaching in through the firewall right here. Let's see if I can. What I'm trying to figure out is what kind of connector is on there. So we got a little bit of oil, as you can see, so we know it's a faulty, and that's what's causing the issue. All right, guys, so all I'm doing is still clearing space. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for myself. So there is, I don't know if this is like a PCV valve that's on this back side, but looks like it'll give us a lot of area to view. I don't think it has. All right, guys, let's put you on game with exactly what happened. So I went ahead and unclipped the fuel injectors. It gives you just a little area to move this harness on the rear. I've disconnected this hose. I've disconnected the hose right here in the back, and then the two that go right here. That allows for plenty of little movement back there. And then I go on the passenger side of the car, and then I reach through to the sensor, which I'll see if I can show you. Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Let me look with my face first. Oh yeah. So essentially, that wire, that black wire that you're looking at right there. Let's see if I can feed it. Okay, there you go. That black wire right there that feeds to the sensor, and you can see it's scooped up. And then what we're doing, I'm gonna reach my hand in here. I'm gonna put my fingertip at the top of the connection, and then guess what? This is what we're looking at. Oh shoot! Look at that. Gunked up with oil. Could that be the issue? It absolutely is the issue. So this is the reason exactly why our cars are getting not the yellow one, but the low oil pressure on the dash. And then I'm just replacing it with a product that I got at AutoZone. Nothing special, so check that out. That's what's gonna go in there. That's what it should look like. It's just one single pin that connects in here. Now, I believe it's a 24mm socket, so let's check it out. Well, let me show you. It's absolutely a 12mm socket. The downside is this side fits no problem. You got to make sure that it's a very deep socket so that when you're taking off the other one and popping this one on, you can do it the correct way. So let me put this back in the box. All right, guys, let's talk. And I'm gonna tell you exactly what I'm about to do right now and why I have to do it the way it is. So you see this socket right here? That was one that I already had. You see this socket right here? It is not very much shorter, but you can see a 1/4 inch shorter, more or less. And I thought that was gonna be enough space for it to fit behind the firewall, because you gotta remember, you gotta have that, and then you need to be able to place your 1/2 inch drive, 3/8 if you can find it. I'll tell you more about it in a second, but you got to be able to fit this on there, and then everything's got to fit there, and you got to be able to wrench away, right? So none of that's going to work. I ran to a bunch of different stores trying to find you know, shorter deep sockets, but they're all more or less universal size in depth. The only other ones that are available are the really short ones, but that's not going to work because of the sensor, right? And then the reason that you need a deep socket, if you haven't figured it out already, is because this goes over the top, and then the sensor pretty much fits in there, right? Just like that. So that's why you need a deep, and you can't do a shallow socket. So that's where we're at right now. I got some cutting wheels. I'm literally gonna put it on the grinder, chop this down 1/2 inch, and I'm gonna come back, reassess the situation, but that should be everything I need to get it done. So let's get that done. All right, guys, so make sure you have eye protection. You don't wanna be doing anything like this. Actually, I don't even think you're gonna have to do anything like this, because you guys are gonna be way more prepared than I was to do this job. But I'll show you exactly what I'm doing in just a moment, all right? All right, guys, so this is essentially what we're doing. We got to fit that socket between the firewall and the engine so we can access the oil pressure sensor. The issue that we're having is this is too long once you put a ratchet on it. So that's where we're at right now. I got the grinder. We're going to chop maybe 1 inch off of this one, make our own tool, and then we'll be able to proceed forward. Again, I don't want you guys to have to do any of this stuff, so be prepared for the job, and I'll make sure at the beginning of the video to let you guys know why you need to have the right tool in order to do this job quite a bit more easily. All right, guys, so just remember, make sure you're wearing safety goggles anytime you're chopping metal or anything of that nature. You don't want to get shards, get them in your eyes, things like that. It's better to use gloves. I happen to already have them right here, so I'm going to use the gloves that I have. They're a little mismatched, but it is what it is. And we're going to essentially grab the grinder, plug it in. We're going to chop some of this off and get the job done. All right, so we're halfway through. I wish I could explain to you guys what happened in the grinder, but I'll let you guys know in a bit. But geez, man, today's just not my day. All right, guys, so that's what we're chopping off. We're almost there. This grinder sucks. I don't know what's going on, but it's broken. All right, guys, I'm gonna reiterate exactly what I did. So again, the sockets I have don't fit. We ended up chopping one down significantly. That way we can still fit the ratchet on it, get behind the pressure sensor. Sorry, that's hot. I had to put it down, and pretty much remove it. So we should be good to go. The problem is that I was having with this grinder is when it's not connected right now, but when I would turn it on, nothing would happen. And then I would have to squeeze right here very, very tight for it to turn on, which you don't need to do typically. It's a very hot even right now, right in this area and this area. So I'm assuming there's some sort of short in there, some wires not connecting, but this grinder is pretty much going to go in the trash after this. But we got it all done. Now let's test fit everything, but we should be good to go. All right, guys, this is exactly what I was referring to. Now we can fit the ratchet on it. We can fit it right there in the back. I mean, that's what we're hopeful with. Right, let's make sure we got it the right way. All right, now let's try to insert it back in this area. See where we land. Actually, let's check this sensor. Oh, it's barely gonna fit. Check that out. But we're getting enough grip around everything that should be good to go. So let's test this all out. It's actually full oil already. So let's clean up. Let's see where we're at. So we're going up over here. We're rounding out the rear. Okay, that should get where I gotta go. Let's test it out. Alright guys, so it wasn't on very tight, thank goodness. I mean, it's on tight enough, but I was able to break it. I wasn't even able to fit the entire ratchet inside, but I got it. And you can see, man, I just spent like 4 hours running around this morning, all so that I can get a mid-length socket so that I can get this job done, man. And it's let's see. So you can see it's full of oil even on the inside. So let's test. Let's check out these two. Looks like this one's got a washer on it. Let's transfer that over to the new one. But pretty much the same sensor on these. All right, let's pop that in. We're good. All right, so let's go to work. Let's put this in. Actually, what I'm going to do before I do any of this, let's get my microfiber back there and see if I can clean up the little bit of. All right, guys. So now I'm reaching back in. Let's make sure you got the washer on this one. Make sure everything's nice and clean. Don't drop this sensor. Remember, if you have the correct tools at your disposal, let's call it a 45-minute job at most. So remember, guys, this should take about 15 minutes at most. My problem was I didn't have the correct tools. I'm actually not even at my house where I have most of my tools, but even then, I didn't have the proper socket as I've showed you in the videos. So for that reason, it should be a 15-minute fix. I'm going on like 4 hours just because I went all over the place looking for the tools that I needed. Didn't work out. I cut my own, I made my own, and I said, F it. It's going down. I'm not about to wait for shipping and things like that. The problem is that this isn't explained very well anywhere, and I don't want you guys to fall victim to exactly what I did. All you got to do is remove these hoses right here up top, move them all out of the way, get down in here, get it all done. 45 minutes tops, you should get that low oil pressure issue all gone. So now it's time to reinstall everything. I'm going to tighten it up. And lastly, I want to show you this. So you see how gunked up with oil that is? There's a little bit of gunk and corrosion right there. So we know that needs to get cleaned up. So I'm gonna get in there, clean that up really well, and finish this job. Man, I'm telling you guys, nothing's going my way today. I don't have the little cap for that, so I'm literally getting a little, I think it's called a spudge, hitting the top. Getting all that grease out, man. So that's where I'm at. Make sure you don't pull on any of this stuff too much. All right. All right. Everything's looking quite a bit cleaner in there. All right, guys, and I'm actually going to use a breaker bar. I'll show you why. I'm talking about even if it's millimeters of clearance, it's worth trying. So the breaker bar, I'm not going to do anything. It's just going to give me more space to tighten it up. I have to put it in, take it out, put it in, take it out. I won't be able to ratchet it, but let's see how this goes. All right, guys, so we have the oil pressure sensor all the way in. It's torqued down. It's the way it needs to be. Now we're going to connect the actual harness to it. Then we're going to do all the hoses back up again. And I'll put that on a time lapse, but essentially it's the opposite of what you just did. Don't forget to plug things down. Remember, when you get back here, just go ahead and take off, certain things that are in the way. I showed you every single hose that I removed. I'll give you a close-up of everything right now, just so you can see again exactly where I'm at. So let me actually show you that right now before I start getting everything done. All right, so this is the harness that went down below. Remember, these right here are for the fuel injectors. I just did that to be able to move that hose around. And then this hose right here, I removed this large one. Remember, this is just the breather. The breather connects to right there. And then there's a couple hoses that I tucked back just to get them out of the way. Oh, here goes the second one. And we're gonna put them all back to where they were. I think that's the charcoal canister or something of that nature. It has something to do with the crankcase ventilation system. So that I have to tighten down because, here, let me get a little closer. That I gotta tighten down just because you'll see. So I got that done. And remember, the sensor is down below here, directly below the oil filter. You go back in that area, and remember, this should be a 45-minute fix if you know what you're doing. There's not enough information out there about it. That's why I wanted to get it done and help you guys so that you don't run into the same obstacles I did. But now we're doing the reverse of everything, putting everything back together, and I'll be able to drive this car safely without it saying low pressure oil pressure, because that's one of the scariest messages you can get on a car. So yesterday when I turned it on in the driveway, the light flashed, and then I shut it off immediately and just left it here overnight at my parents' house. So now we'll put everything back together and it should be good to go. All right. All right, guys, and what we're doing, literally the last steps of everything, you can tell the coolant is low because, some of it dripped out of the system. I'm checking the oil right now. It's not low, but it could probably use about a quart or so. So let me clean this up. Let's check it together. I don't even think it needs a quart, but we'll see. All right, so can we see? No, it's good. So we'll
add a little bit, very, very small amount. You don't want to overfill these engines. But essentially that's how much oil I had when that popped up. Has nothing to do with your oil, the amount of oil. That's not the reason that you're getting this error. Unless it says low oil, then you're low on oil. But if it says low oil pressure, then it's a scary situation, unless you figure it all out like me and you watch this video and you know exactly what's going on. So all right guys, this is literally the moment of truth. Let's get into the car. I haven't started it since yesterday. Let's see what we're doing here. All right, so before you would get the alert right here. It was big and red right in that box, and it would be a little oil symbol, and that's pretty much the way it went. So right now we're looking good because it's not there. What I'm going to do, let's do this. Let's see. So that's a little burn off from the coolant that got in. But what we are going to check is make sure there's no leaks. Alright guys, so the engine sounds good. It's completely cold, so I want you to know that. Let me show you. So you can see it's completely cold. We still don't have the alert on there, so we're still looking good, guys. So let me move that car out. We'll drive this one around the block, see where we're at. Alright guys, so let's get in. I moved the car. We're gonna get back in here. So remember, the engine is still cold, so I'm gonna let it go for a little bit. So close this, let's open this. And you know what? We're just gonna go on this drive together. Let me plug in my charger. Let's pop you in. Let's do this. That way I don't get copyrighted for the music on the video. All right, so we're gonna drive this together. I'm gonna film it, and man, I hope we're good. All right, so I'm gonna stay quiet just so I can hear the engine as I'm driving, but let's see where we're at. We're just gonna go around the block. Apparently, once you get past a certain RPM is when that pressure sensor alerts that you have low oil pressure. So remember, this car had 0 issues. Oh man, it's been running so beautifully, and then all of a sudden, just boom, that thing popped up. So let's see where we're at. I'm gonna drive it very slow. You see the RPM range. It's very, very quiet. I don't hear any kind of issue. This is how the car's been driving. And if you guys know, I'm just waiting for the alert to pop up right there like it did before, but I don't think it's popping up. So we're looking really nice. That's good. Last time it popped up right away, literally backed out of the driveway, pop, red. Never seen that icon before. I was so scared. So let's go a little bit on the main street right here. We're not gonna get on it. We're just gonna get it, you know, maybe to the 3,000 RPMs or something. All right guys, so with that being said, the video is now complete. I am very, very happy that that was the solution to this common problem on a lot of the 4.2 liter S4 engines. That oil light pops up. It's because the harness itself gets full of oil and or the sensor went out. So when you're doing it, you got to make sure you clean everything out. Make sure the harness is nice and dry when you reinstall it. Make sure you clean up any kind of oil residue that's left behind. And that concludes my video, guys. So again, make sure to follow me if you like any of this kind of content. Give me a follow, give me a thumbs up. That way the algorithm helps me out and boosts it for people with similar interests like you and I. And we're good to go. So again, thanks for following. Glad it was a very, very simple problem, and we don't need a brand new engine, because that's the scariest thing that can possibly happen to your S4. All right, guys, I just want you to know that I'm pulling up to the house. I'm still good. I've been driving it for about 10 minutes as of now. We are still looking good. No more issues. Issue has been fixed. Remember, it wasn't a check engine light. It was just an alert on your screen. So I didn't have to erase anything. I didn't have to reset anything. Literally fixed the problem, drive the car, hasn't popped back up, and now we are good to go. So again, thanks for following my videos. If you enjoy this content, subscribe.